So, yeah, welcome to this little mini workshop all about winter workshops and events. And with all these sessions, they're really, really interactive. So I want you to ask questions. I want you to feel that you can, get involved. So even though people are recording this, it's really useful when you ask questions because it's just makes it easier for them to feel like they'll probably have the same questions. So where if you're thinking it, somebody else is probably thinking it as well. Yeah, so all right, and I have got a Louise here. So I've got Louise and a Louisa.
I'm Louisa.
You're Louisa. Oh, there's Louise. She's gone. She's back again. There you are, Louise. Yes. You're there. Don't worry if you haven't got your audio. That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah, we spoke on the phone yesterday.
Ah, fabulous. Yeah.
Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you. Yes, no, you disappeared off my screen and then you popped up again. And I was like, oh, where's it gone? Yes, fabulous. Yeah, how are you? You good?
Good, yeah, I'm excited to join this first training and
wonderful.
learn more. So that's great.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it was lovely to talk to you yesterday as well. It was really good. All right, my lovelies. Yeah, so we're going to look at winter workshops and events. And I want to start with a question to you, and you can pop it in the chat or you can ask, like, has anybody already got some winter events in the diary? And that's not a trick question. If the answer is no, that's good. You're in the right place. So don't worry if you're like, no, I haven't thought about it. That's why I'm here. Or if some of you are like, yeah, I've got some, but I'm not really sure if I've got the right thing. Or yeah, Nikki's got yeah, I thought you had. I've seen yours. Hi, Helen. So yeah, just pop in the chat if you have got anything and nothing's. Let's see, you say no. Let's have a look. Oh, and Lucy, yes, you've got your retreat planned for next month. Amazing. Your retreats look so good. Yeah, lovely. Super. Okay. So my next question have you got something planned, or is anybody a bit anxious about getting some things planned? Is anybody a bit nervous about doing winter events? Anybody got any thoughts about that? Which again, is not, it's not a right or a wrong. You might be feeling a bit like, oh, am I ready to do an event? Am I ready to do a workshop?
It's getting the people in, isn't it? It's like, where do you advertise it? How do you, where do you get them in? It's that sort of, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Okay, and we can start with that. Actually, we can start with that, and that will lead us in. So I've got Emma that's joined. Hi, Emma. Good to see you. So I can see who it is. Otherwise, I'm definitely a face person, more than names. So if I can see your face, I know who you are. Great. And then Lucy say, I'm debating offering more wintry events, but numbers have been a bit low, so you feel nervous. Okay. Yeah, let me know, Emma, if you can hear me, and let me see you so I can check in with you and say a little hello. Otherwise, I find it quite disconcerting when I can't see people sometimes. Great. Yes. Okay, Nikki's had first one and only one booking so far. Okay, brilliant. So yeah. So Emma, if you could pop your camera on, it'd be really good to see you. Amazing. All right, so Claire started with a really, really good. Okay, your camera's not working. Okay, nice to see you. Good. Glad you can hear me. And then join in, Emma, with like chatting and putting some, questions and things forward. So yeah, we're going to start with the point that Claire raised. And I think this is really important when we're looking at doing any event, any workshop, what we're putting out there. I always come back to, what is the intention around it? Like, what is your intention? Why would you do it? And asking yourself the why is really important, because it makes you check in with, do you feel like you should be doing it? Because you're like, oh, I saw someone else do it on Instagram, so I need to do it too. Or if you feel like you're in that trap, and that happens a lot, I know it because I've been there, you're scrolling and you're like, oh my goodness, that teacher that I'm kind of totally feeling a comparison around. And yeah, I'm like feeling really like I'm comparing myself to her or him, and they've got a workshop, I need to do a workshop, and it's panic stations you try to do it. But that's not the right intention to be going about anything in your yoga business, because we're yogis, we're yoga teachers, and we want to make sure that whenever we're moving forward into planning anything, what's your intention? Why are you doing it? So asking yourself that question is really important, so that you've got an understanding. Now, I would say that some of the key points of why you would want to put on an event in winter is to connect and to bring the community together, isn't it? So it's connecting in with your students, creating a community event, to build a community. Maybe it's because you don't have a community and you want to start building a community. Well, that's a really good way to do it, isn't it, really, to actually start offering things for a community to come to. So there's two ways of doing it, which could be very much like, you need to build your community before you start sharing your offerings, because if you are putting things out there and you haven't got anyone to share what you're sharing with, it's going to fall on, it's like a tree falling down in a forest and there's no one there to hear it. Yeah. So without that community, you're like, I've got a workshop, everybody comes to it. And it's like, well, there's nobody around you. There's nobody's tapped into you who lives in your area. If you've got people on social media, and it would mean that they have to drive 3 hours to come to you. Who are the people in your community? Who are they? Because if you're like, come to this local center or yoga studio or wherever it might be to my event, but you haven't got people in your area, local area, or you haven't tapped into that area, that's why you won't get the bookings, because people can't travel 4 hours for a 60-minute class. All right. Especially if your friends on Instagram are all the teachers you met on your teacher training in Goa, and they live all over the world. Okay. Have a little check-in with who is in your Instagram. Is it all your followers, or all those beautiful, lovely people that you met in Goa? And you're like, yeah, that's not my ideal client, is it? That's not who's going to come to your Christmas event. So thinking about the intention of setting around why you're doing your event. Is it to build a community, or is it to serve your community? Is it to connect in with people and to maybe, yeah, I think that pretty much those two things are the most important reasons for doing one. The other reason, and it's okay to say this, is because it's a great way of boosting your revenue. Okay, doing a one-off event or workshop is going to be good for your income, for your revenue, especially when you hit the nail on the head and they're busy, especially around Christmas, because we all like to have a bit more money around Christmas, don't we? Okay, so we want to have a bit more money around Christmas because we need it. We like to have it. It helps us. But secondly, people have got more money to spend in terms of they're in a mindset of spending. Okay, this is just like basic sales or like marketing, is that people are in a spending mindset. So they are more likely to be in that place of like, I need to do something with my lovely friend and we don't want to go out for a meal ever as booked up, but let's do something really nice together as a little Christmas treat. Your event could be that. That's what you want to tap into. People coming to your event as that little Christmas gift or a Christmas get together. Maybe a few friends that don't see each other but want to have a little Christmas gathering, and not everybody wants to go to the pub. In fact, most people, like our community, might go to the pub, but they also really want to do yoga and do all those lovely things. So you're tapping into that. So you're thinking about those sorts of lovely, creating a community with your students, perhaps bringing a friend. So it's a really nice thing to do to help boost your income and to boost your revenue as well. My experience of doing these sorts of events, and the reason why I think they're such a winner, is I have always run winter and Christmas events, and I think some of you might have come to them. Maybe Helen came to one of them. I don't know. Maybe you didn't. When I did them, I always put on a Christmas class. But I really noticed that my community, my students, were really craving some downtime. And if you know me, my classes tend to be definitely more dynamic, quite fiery, probably lots of handstands and all that jazz. So I knew that I had a little gap, which was for my community to have something nourishing, restorative, a little slower paced, and probably a bit more themed. So I started putting on some Christmas classes based on like, oh, let's have a Christmas get together class. And then I had these like winter warmer events. And then I moved them into being hygge events, which I really love. Like the hygge is that sort of lovely Swedish, a Norwegian vibe of candles and all that stuff. And I wanted that lovely comforting feeling. So I started putting on these classes, and I made them a little bit longer. So I made them 90 minutes. I kept the price point pretty accessible. I think I did the first ones were either 10 or 15 pounds, and they all sold out immediately. So much so that my Christmas events, like obviously not last year, the year before, and the year before that, I was doing them for about 4 years in a row. One year I did a early Christmas one, like 20th of December, or even earlier than that, maybe much earlier than, and one that was really like just before Christmas. I did one in between Christmas and New Year, the little betwixtmas time. All of them sold out, and I got about 20 people in the room. So I was started doing £15 per person, 20 people in the room, and it was stacked. It was like completely sold out. So I just kept putting on these extra classes, and everyone was like, actually, I can't make that one, but could you do something in between Christmas and New Year? It's like, yeah, of course. Like candlelight, fairy lights, soothing music, restorative yoga. And it was just what everybody was calling out for. During COVID, I started doing them online, and they're equally popular. Doing them online and creating a relaxing candlelit yoga experience online is also really popular. So these events are what people are really craving right now, that nourishing practice, and sort of seeing how they start to really, really sort of, yeah, gain momentum. I think it's really key, by the way, like a little tip is very much, don't just have one date in mind, especially in mind. It doesn't mean that you have to put 2 dates on, but if you've got a date for something, do think about the possibility of having another date, because if it is a success and you can only fit like 6 to 8 people in your studio, it may be worth doing another one. Okay, so thinking about the studio space you have, or maybe if you're doing it in a wherever you might be doing it, it would be worth thinking of having a couple of dates. And that's what I did with these Christmas events. I started running them more often, because people might not make one day, but they can make the other. So Claire saying, midweek workshops, do they work, or is it weekends or go home? Yeah, really good question. I spoke to a teacher this morning actually about this, and I said, what about swapping her regular class on, I think her Monday class is on December the 20th, and changing that Monday night class into the wintry Christmassy class event. So if you're like, do you know what, I cannot do weekends, it's not possible, whatever, childcare, other commitments, thinking about changing your regular weekday class and making that more of an event is sometimes a good is an option there, and that could definitely bring in
All day.
All day, yeah, definitely day. Yeah, definitely day. So it doesn't always have to be in the evening. Also, because when it's winter, like I did my events quite early, especially the ones in between Christmas and New Year. So I did it about like 4:30, 5 o'clock, because I didn't want to be doing it like late at night, because it's that time we're all kind of off. So I stuck to a relatively early, but you could do mornings. It doesn't have to be the evenings for these events. It may be that it suits your community better to do something in the day, and they're not really so up for doing something in the evening. So definitely thinking about your why you're doing it, what's your intention, and mapping that out and putting some few ideas down. Yeah, so that was, you know, it's okay to use this, you know, to think it's not only okay, but it's really important to think about your revenue. Anyone who's worked with me knows that, you know, and it's important to think about and do the maths. Okay, you're running a business, it's really important to do the math and to know, like, okay, where can I do some events? And I like to call them, they can be relatively quick wins when you start to do these pop-up events and workshops, and they can really help boost your revenue. So Louise is asking, any tips on how to approach centres or studios to secure a venue for events? You just need to get in touch with the venue manager and talk to them. Yeah, so just get in touch with venues that you like, and you just got to call them up, email them and say, what are the rates, what's your availability? There's a bit of back and forth, but you'll get there. Yeah, and if it's, I tend to say, my piece of advice is, If it's driving you mad trying to book a venue and it's really sticky and it's just not happening, move on. All right, it's not meant to be. If you're banging your head against the wall, like I've got my friend who runs events and she's trying to get in touch with this great venue, we love it, for a different sort of event, more of a ritual that we're doing, but they're just not coming back to us. And I said, look, it's just not meant to be. Like, it's obviously not meant to be for us to do it. If they're not emailing us back again, you know, we've sent 3 emails, it's just starting to get a bit ridiculous. So follow it up. If you send an email, follow up with a phone call, pop down and see the place, try to talk to someone. But if you've exhausted all that, maybe it's a sign to go somewhere else, and you know, the universe is pushing you to another place.
Yeah. Can I ask the group if anyone's had trouble with centres asking for qualifications or I don't know, wanting to know more about your background before letting you do a class?
A studio that I've most recently hired has wanted everything. So, and she just took over a studio that I've been teaching at for about 4 years, and she wanted my certificates, my insurance, first aid. She wanted a few other things as well. So she was pretty thorough. I was like, okay, but it's okay. She wants it, she can have it. So just all over. Yeah.
It's because insurers will no longer insure you for bringing in extra like teachers and things, so they won't, we're not insured. So if a teacher's teaching and they do something, it would come back on us if they weren't insured. So that's why they're really strict now, because since COVID all the insurers are really like, they're not giving anything away. So we have to have everyone's certificates and their liability. If we want even a chef or anything, they have to provide that, because we're just not insured. If they set fire to the house or injure somebody, it can come back on you up to 2 years later, apparently. So that's why.
Good point. And I think we'll take this opportunity to introduce Claire to everybody here and anybody who's watching who has an amazing retreat centre in Dorset. And Claire, I'm mentoring at the moment and coaching.
Almost finished. Almost
finished. It's so exciting. So if anybody's looking to do a retreat or an event in beautiful Dorset, then Claire's going to be the place to go. It's going to be amazing. So I'm so excited.
We're very excited. But that's why the insurance, because we've just found all that out. So don't take it personally. It's just that they have to do that for them.
Fabulous. That's really helpful. Thank you, Claire. You're going to be our like resident, like, you know, guru on these things. Thank you.
That's the only thing I can help with.
That's not true. That's not true. All right, so that's a little bit of your why. Now we're going to look at what you might be doing, and you might feel like, oh, what do I do? Christmas? What? You know, it might run out of creativity. You can be so creative with these events. You can be so creative with them. I think you can have a lot of fun. So whether that's you are doing something a bit more playful and you are literally dressing up in sort of stripy leggings and it's more like a family event and you're all dressed as elves, or you want to stay something very soothing and candlelit and it's a little bit more, you know, kind of that sort of way, you can be quite creative with what you're putting on. So starting to play with the themes is really key. So having a little play. So some of the themes, I want you to just sort of have a quick brainstorm and think about some of the themes you might be putting down. Now, I'll just make this point as the, you know, you might be thinking, crikey, we're already talking about Christmas. I'm one of those people, I absolutely hate talking about Christmas this time of year. I know, I'm sorry. I'm literally to India. I'm not one for Christmas. I've said this quite openly. I'm really miserable at Christmas. Give me a beach. That's where I want to be. But we've got to talk about it. And actually, it feels really weird. It's a lovely sunny day here in Bournemouth, but I'm looking out the window. But unfortunately, you've got to be planning your event. So as much as I hate the C word, we've got to say it. Christmas is coming. So we've got literally, we're in September. We're now at end of September, October, November, December. You haven't got long to be pushing it out and to be promoting it and to be sharing it. So it's not going to be long before suddenly all your marketing channels, Instagram, social media are going to be awash with all the events. So you really need to have this kind of wrapped up ASAP, I would say, at least have it mapped out. So Otherwise, time's going to go, and before you know it, it's going to be November, and you're going to be like panicking and thinking, I'm going to push out events. So you really want to have all your events ready before the next quarter. All right. So at the beginning of the quarter, you know what you've got coming up. Even if you've only got a framework and you haven't got the venue secured, don't worry, just getting into this stage is really important. So it's in there, because the longer you have to be sharing it, the better the success rate. 100%. If you're trying to push an event out and you've left 2 weeks before telling anyone, that is going to be a massive reason why people aren't booking and aren't showing up, because they just haven't seen it. Okay, so you really want about 8 weeks at least of showing up and sharing, and then a 4-week period of heavy promotion in times of like you sharing it daily. So looking at the themes, writing down some ideas. Maybe you can teach yin yoga or restorative. If you can't teach yin yoga or restorative, you can still teach a soothing hatha class. Yeah, so you need to be creative with what you can teach. I'm a dynamic vinyasa ashtanga teacher, rocket yoga teacher, so I haven't got many like soothing strings to my bow, but I do know how to teach a slow soothing hatha, of course. Like it is, you know, you have to change it up and be creative, and to change the tempo and the pace, and to make a soothing class. And so I kind of, you know, have been able to adapt my skill set over the years to be able to do that. I don't teach yin yoga, but I will teach a slow flow hatha and something a lot more kind of restorative. So think about what you could do. What could you create and teach? Do posters work, Claire saying, or flyers? They do in your local area if there's somewhere good to share it. I think that's one channel which is good to use in a local area, but it will be one thing. If you're going to advertise by posters or flyers, that needs to be one part of many channels of how you're going to share your event.
Yeah.
So you might think of, so what's coming up? We've got winter solstice. Great theme, moving into winter. Beautiful. I love doing winter solstice events. I've loved doing those. They've always been really, really popular. The last year that I did one last year. I collaborated with Temple and the Moon, and we did a ritual, and we did tarot and things like that. So we made it a much more richly kind of event. That's how I was trying. We were being creative. I did like you know, a bit more of a ceremony. Yeah, it's a lovely solstice event. Yeah, it's really nice to do the winter solstice. It's really like warming. You can use, you know, fire. You can be creative if you can get outdoors. We did it in a yoga studio, so we couldn't have any fire, regrettably, but we did set up a little altar and had candles and things. We also did a little pop-up shop. Alan did come to that one. We did a pop-up shop there where we sold some crystals and things. So being creative, how can you create a community event? If that's your intention, is to build community, to support your community, get others involved. And that's one of my points. Collaboration is key. So if you're going to collaborate with another teacher, think about, you know, if you've got somebody who makes awesome cakes, get her along, you know, sell some cakes or get her to provide some cakes. Do you know somebody who sells beautiful bath things, handmade soap, Dorset soap? I'm saying Dorset because we're in Dorset, but like in whatever areas, maybe natural products, because people are going to be wanting to sort of maybe buy last minute gifts, you know. So is there something you can bring in, like a little shop or a little pop-up shop, a little table and a corner, thinking about how you can start to be creative with that event? So that's something you can add in. I mean, your theme around winter solstice, we have winter warmers. Winter warmer event could be any time of the day, I think, and that could be, you know, great for these colder days. Thinking about what you can do to create a warming event with lighting or blankets or eye pillows. What can you add in? We've got themes such as like a Christmas practice. So it's Christmas, people are a bit time poor, so thinking about how you could get a class together. So literally like a Christmas time. There's
little
like
black dress class.
Yeah, but you could, I know that some people have done where they do fancy dress classes, they make it more of a party. You don't have to do this where it is like, oh, it's Christmas, so everyone has to be lying down under a blanket. And it's you could make it a really fun, a Christmas party class.
I meant get into the little black dress class.
Oh, get into
like slim down for the little black dress. Work it, you know.
Go for it, Claire. You're being creative, love it. So you can think about like doing more of a party class where especially if you've got teach family yoga, or you've got you know that you've got students who've got kids and stuff, invite them along. Maybe do a family class. They're really great to do as well. So maybe including other people into your event. There's themes such as New Year's Day or New Year calm, a calming class. Now, if you are not somebody that tends to celebrate around New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, lots of people don't, it may be worth doing a New Year's Day class. Very popular. You get lots of those in London, New Year's Day classes, because there's lots of people who don't don't go out on New Year's Eve or don't sort of stay up all night and would actually really like a yoga class. So it may be, if that suits you, that's your vibe, putting something on there and appealing to that community. And there's things like New Year back to yoga. Perhaps people have had a break over Christmas and you might want to put on an event which is a welcome back to yoga class after that event. Yeah. So there's some ideas. Anybody got any other ideas? Pop them in the chat if you've got anything else that you think has sprung to mind. How do they, you know, anybody got any ideas firing? It's good to share them. Yeah, lovely, Louise. Yeah, sankalpas and mantras. Nice. Yeah, keeping it like really with that yogic feeling. Maybe mantras lovely to do in the winter. You know, it's really sort of lovely, gentle practice that we can all do together. And actually,
with the sankalpas, you could use it to kind of like reflect on the year and maybe set good intentions for the next year.
Absolutely, love that. Yes, and I love that. What a really nice theme. Yeah, sankalpa is so powerful for setting new intentions. You could really see that as like a New Year's Day or New Year's Eve workshop. Yeah, absolutely, like moving forward with these good sort of lovely intentions for your year ahead. Claire saying maybe the venue would have a shop area that you could display your offerings. Yeah, that's a nice idea. Yeah, Louisa is saying restorative and a party vibe one too. Yeah, lovely. Yeah, because it is a nice time to celebrate. Like if your why is setting up this kind of, it's a community, you're doing something to build community, to sort of celebrate your you know, your students and to celebrate they're coming together, and you can do that online as well. So, and Helen saying maybe an All Hallows Eve type of yes, with a witchy vibe. That's so you, Helen, isn't it? That's very you. Helen is desperate to obviously a Halloween party. Get witchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you know me, I love all that. So yes, it's all about like getting, doing, and I want you to feel excited about these events. Like, yeah, this is really exciting. You gotta have your energy behind it. Yeah, we've got some really great suggestions here. Yeah, kirtan, singing, because all these sorts of practices you wouldn't normally do in a class. If like your students probably wouldn't do like in a, you know, your regular weekday class. So if you can put on an event which is a bit different, like kirtan, mantras, sankalpa, singing, restorative, a bit more of a party, you're really starting to tap into some different offerings. Fantastic. So thinking about the structure of your events, you now thought, you know, what's my intention? Is it to build my community? Is it to meet others in my community? Is it to encourage other people to come? Is it for a social? You might want tea or cake, or to mark a special day, a seasons or nature. You've got your intention. You've thought about your theme. So you're like, okay, I think this is the theme I want to do. This feels like true to you. It feels like it is representative to you. It's very important that you do something that feels very you. If you try and do a winter solstice event, but you don't have a Scooby, you know, clue about what to do for winter solstice, it will show. So don't feel pressure to do something unless you know, like you have a passion for it. But if you're like, I think I'm going to do winter solstice because I think somebody else did it, no, do what's right for you. If you're like, actually, I know that I teach loads of mums and they've got kids, so we do a Christmas party and they're all going to come dressed as elves. If that's more you, do that. Okay, so just stay really true to what your community is and how you what your niche is and your speciality. So do make sure that, so if it's lovely, there's lovely things. Yeah, Helen, I mean, I don't think anybody would ever forget. Helen did that was around Christmas, wasn't it? It was around Christmas. We did a Christmas weekend of classes. I put on a free weekend of classes over a weekend in December to get all the new teachers that were on the teacher training that I was teaching on to practice teaching. So we put on free classes and everyone could do whatever they wanted. They had free reign to have the whole studio to themselves to do whatever they wanted. It was their practice class, but to be more creative. It wasn't their final class for the teacher training, but a class to just practice a theme. And Helen did a Caribbean reggae theme to fight away the blues, and she did rum cocktails and reggae music, and like,
I like it.
it was so her and it was so true, and everyone had so much fun. And I remember like hearing the music and it was just so good. It was like, you know, that's, be you, okay, be you, because everybody loves you and they love you for being you. So if your winter party, Christmas party is like, hey, we're going to just do like Caribbean style and get warm and lively, you be you, okay, because that's what's going to make you stand out always, is doing what makes your heart sing. Okay, yeah, I love that. That was an amazing class. That was so fun. So when we're thinking now what we're going to do, we're going to do a workshop or are we going to do an event? Now, I thought it would be really key today to sort of clarify the difference between a workshop and an event. I'm seeing lots of things come up as workshops, and I'm not so sure that they are workshops. It's quite hard to get that clarity between the two. For me personally, in my experience, a workshop is you are sharing and teaching something with more information. Okay. So it's very hard when you're thinking, what do I call it? You might say, oh, this is a you know, a restorative workshop. Well, not really, unless you're teaching some techniques. So a workshop is a technique session where you might, so I will do a workshop on, say, handstands. And why is it a workshop? What makes it different from class? Because I'm going to get everyone to sit down and listen to me as I talk and explain how you do a handstand. I'm be like, right, okay, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do some drills, and then you're going to practice, and then you're going to ask some questions, and then we're going to share, and then we'll try it. So that makes it a workshop where you're trying out different things. It's interactive in your speaking. And then an event is more of like, they're not really having to interact, but it might be just an event, a social, a class, a winter warmer event. So it wouldn't really be like a winter warmer workshop unless you were going to sort of give out maybe handouts. So for me, a workshop is you give out handouts, maybe tools to learn, techniques. Now you can definitely do a winter workshop. I have done them. I did a winter sleep. I think it was, I can't remember what I called it though. I did it with Tonic Retreats. I can't remember what we called it. It would be better. Must have been I wouldn't have just called it sleep, but I've given it a more jazzy name, I'm sure. But what in the workshop was, we talked about sleep techniques and like things to do before you go to bed. And then I gave out a handout, and then I had a little bedtime drink, and then I did some yoga, and then it did a meditation. But I was trying to give people some tools to have from it, so the people were sort of left with some tools, and so that was more workshop style. So good to think about what you're going to call it: an event, a workshop, a retreat. Sort of, you could call it mini retreat. Don't be afraid of mini retreats. Retreats don't have to be week longs. You could do half day mini retreat. So I tend to think a retreat does sort of, you know, have met a few different components. That's what makes it a retreat. So you'll have a few different parts of it. So maybe a breath work, a meditation, sort of a welcome circle, the yoga practice. So it has a few different parts. So thinking how you could create that mini retreat experience. A mini retreat experience can totally be done online. If you're thinking of doing a winter mini retreat online, great tip for you here: send a recipe. Send a recipe to people in the morning, like before, for them to make in the morning or something, to make their lunch. you know, a little recipe, or could you post them some food? Could you post them it to them? Okay, so you don't have to do it in person. You could do it online. If you can't get food to people, you can send them recipes. I've done that. I did an online retreat. We sent a recipe for a soup, a recipe for a sweet treat. So it's up to them, and they can create their own retreat at home. Maybe some tips and things of how to create a retreat experience at home. You've got the information, and I feel you can sort of share this, yeah, like these tips of like creating this vibe at home if you're doing it. So these events can be totally transferable to be done online. And I think it's really important that you think in that way, so that we're not panic stations if we are online. Okay, so we've always got that to go back on. You know, remember, we've opened a huge online community, so keep nurturing that as well. I've got no intention of losing my online community that I've grown. It's been amazing and I love it. I've got people all over joining my classes, and so I don't want to lose that. So nurturing them is really important. Claire saying video yourself doing the recipe. I say that was quite it might be quite lengthy. I think you could probably just send a PDF.
Yes, you know, like they do on YouTube, like you know, we do like that, and it's done.
You can be as creative as you want. I think, yes, if you've got the time, definitely do, like, you can live your sort of ready, steady, cook dreams and do a little
I'm rubbish. I'm rubbish. I just say maybe
like, add in there, do yourself like you're a presenter. You must have wanted a cooking show. Yeah. Definitely thinking PDFs are good. The only thing with videos, you can upload them onto YouTube is the easiest way, because if you're uploading video files and sending them out, you've got to find an easy way to do it. Otherwise it could fill up the inbox. You might not be able to even send it. So uploading your videos to YouTube is key, and then you can send that. Yeah. So if you haven't already, definitely get a YouTube little channel set up, because they're really useful to have. So that's a little bit about workshop versus events. Now let's have a look about timings. We didn't touch on this, the timings of sort of best days. Well, it depends on who your community, who they are, what they do, where they live, how you're connecting with them. But we could have some sort of ideas of what we think might be the best days to do some events. Now, Christmas, you've got to be very cautious in terms of, like, lots of people have things to do on a Saturday night. So it doesn't mean everybody does. It might be that your community doesn't, but people tend to have more social obligations, say on a Saturday. Maybe they're seeing family or friends. So it's thinking about when you might want to put on an event. I love a Sunday night. I think Sunday nights work really well. I also find Friday nights work really well. Not everybody wants to be going out and they don't have that social. So actually sometimes an early Friday works really nicely. But equally, changing it for a class that you have in the week, swapping it, can work really nicely. So if you already teach on a Wednesday and your class happens to fall on Wednesday, the 22nd of December, it probably is a really clever idea to swap that and make it into more of an event. Just change it up. Mornings can work quite well, but I think one a really clever idea to do is, when you're thinking about putting on events, is to ask your community. Ask your community what works for them. So once you've got your idea, you can put out to people, I'm doing a Christmas class or event or winter workshop. What would work best for you? Now, this is what you really want to be doing when you're using your stories in Instagram, you're communicating with your students, your community. Ask them, would you like a weekend or a weekday? It doesn't always mean that they're all going to necessarily come with the answer, but it is good to just get a little bit of help if you feel a bit stuck. You could also send this out in your newsletter. I'm doing an event, we've got Sunday, but make it work for you as well. If everyone was like choosing a time that doesn't work for you, that's not going to work, is it? So don't feel the pressure to do something that your community, because they're always going to have different ideas. So choose maybe a couple of options that work for you. If you're really not sure, you can put it out. And do you know what? If enough interest, you could do both. So it might be. So like that's what I did with my winter events. I did one on a Friday night, and then I did one on a Sunday night. and I did one midweek in between Christmas and New Year, so that I had kind of covered all bases.
Are these online or live?
Those were in person. Those were in person. And then I did more online last year. Yeah, I did a couple. And the same Sunday nights I tend to do online.
That sounds lovely. Your Sunday night. I'm in for that.
Yeah.
Jimmy
great.
Jam one. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because you literally can be in bed.
Yeah.
So nice. So we're looking at those timings. So you're having a play with like what works for you and the times. But I think you can make most times work, to be honest. There isn't a secret time of like, oh, if only I didn't done this on a Sunday, that would have worked. No, I think Sundays work quite nicely, but they work for my community. So you need to ask your community, and depending, because if, you know, one thing, Lucy's always really been really, I found really helpful to know, it was like Lucy's, because she's a childcare, she has to do things much later. And actually now I'm always thinking, because I've got a few mums with little ones, and I'm always like, oh yeah, actually it needs to be like after 8. I can't do it at tea time or bedtime, because, and then I started realizing when I was doing a lot of these late night online things, I was like, oh, I'll do it like 7 o'clock, because that kind of like, I thought that worked for me, but it didn't work for so many people. Like, oh, I can't because that's bedtime. So I would be like, right, okay, or 6:30. So that would be kind of bedtime. So I started doing things later. So I tend to do things online more like 8 o'clock now, so that kids have got to bed, mum's got time to do this, you know, without being disturbed online. And so that's that, yeah, they've got that time. So factoring that is really key, because that's what my intention around my events is offering, you know, a time for rest and relaxation for my students. And it might be that I just need to make it later to accommodate that. And actually, even if you haven't got kids, that's fine, because you do the sessions and then you can go straight to bed, you know, which I think is lovely. I love that idea, like a yoga nidra, and then literally switch off the laptop and go to sleep. It's like somebody giving you a massage in your own home. Isn't that lovely? So yeah, think about the yoga nidra that you just like, oh, go to sleep. Yoga nidras are great as well as events, really nice. Yeah, mum's after school drop off is a really good time. Yeah, 9:30. That's always, yeah, really like important to think of that, because it might be that they've got that time. Yeah. So we're looking now at the venue. So choosing your venue. So if you haven't got a venue that you can use, and doing online is perfectly fine. Like doing some online, I think it's really key to offer that opportunity. And just making sure when you're choosing your venue, as you're doing something, the reason I wanted to discuss venue, because also you've all got different venues in your communities, you've all got your different venues to use. Be aware of sound levels. If you're doing a yoga nidra, wonderfully relaxing restorative class, make sure it's not on at the same time the Zumba is on. Okay, that's happened to one of my wonderful, lovely teachers. And she was like, hired a space, and she wasn't told that Zumba was on in the room next door, and she's doing restorative yoga. So check with your venue. If you're putting something on quiet, whenever I did my Christmas events, especially the very relaxing, restorative, quiet things, it was on the condition that nobody was in the room next door. So I didn't do it when I knew there was another class, because it will spoil the vibe. So I tend to hire like the whole space, so there wasn't that disturbance. And I would do it quite late in the evening again for that. Then I knew there wasn't a sort of 6 o'clock class with like the tunes banging out whilst I'm trying to do a meditation. So check with your venue any conflict around what other classes might be on, and it would be really wise to schedule that. If you've got a party sort of class, it doesn't matter so much. Yeah, let me know if you've got any other questions about the venue. I mean, I think choosing a venue could be another workshop in itself, probably. I could probably find another whole workshop about venues. All right, and so now we're looking at the events. So if you're doing an event, think about it being like this kind of party social event. If you're doing an event and you've got this bit more of a social, what do you think you might need to create that event? perhaps some food or drink or decorations, maybe some little goodies. If you're creating an event, like if you did an event, if you went to like the launch of a, I don't know, the launch of a shop, tends to be like an opening event, you know, and you get a little drink, you get some nibbles, there's a bit more of a social side. Now you can create this with your yoga events, which are great for serving the community, making them open for all. So think about what you might want to include if you're doing this event, those extras, you know, the teas. Now, be really careful when you are putting in extras. If you are charging £10 per person for your beautiful restorative winter warmer class, you cannot go and spend £40 on cake, £20 on herbal tea, 30 quid on decorations, 20 quid on candles. What else? You know, something else, paper plates, napkins, tea lights, because you will have absolutely zero profit. I mean, in fact, you would have lost a lot of money. So get really clear on what exactly it is that you want to create before you start putting out, so you're not doing a mad dash around places like buying stuff. I know, because I've done that. I speak from experience. I'm always speaking from experience. I'm not saying don't do this because it's not. I've done it because I've done it. All right, I've done it where I've had to like zoom to Asda because I forgot I haven't got any cups, and then I'm like, oh my god, I haven't got any plates. So don't do that. Is my advice. Plan it and think about what you need in advance so you can buy it and make sure that you've got some stock, like making sure, like now I always make sure I've got really I've got disposable biodegradable cups. I always want to make sure I've got biodegradable cups. I'm not using like anything dodgy recycling wise. I want to make sure I've got like eco disposable use things, compostable, things like that, because that's really important for me, like to make sure it's eco-friendly. I tend to use herbal teas, so I make sure I get them on offer. Buy my herbal teas when I see them on offer in the supermarket, and then I have a stash. So rather than waiting and buying like, you know, pack of teas and spending a lot of money, I just wait and see what's on offer. And with food, even if you're making it yourself, that can suddenly rack up, can't it? Suddenly you realize you've spent 50 quid in the supermarket because you want to make vegan chocolate or something like, and it's a bit of a faff. Collab where you can when it comes to making things, because if you're not a natural or you haven't got the time to make vegan brownies, your time is better spent somewhere else than you crying in the kitchen because you've got like 2 hours and your vegan brownies have burnt and now you've got no cake. You're like, I've got to go and get ready for my workshop and I've just ruined the brownies. So really making sure that, yeah, you have got perhaps somebody you can collab with. I don't make the cakes. I used to make the energy balls. I haven't got time to be making cake and energy balls, and plus I'm not that great at it. Those other people are far better. So I go to a place near me that does vegan cakes and brownies, and they give me a discount. They give me a discount, and also it's a business expense, so I put it through as a cost. Make sure you get a receipt. It's a business expense, so buy the cake, keep the receipt, put it through your books. And yeah, so but if otherwise, collab with somebody that you like and get them to help you, and you can, you know, do the event together. I really do advise that, because your time could be spent better on the event than getting stressed out. It's really important, yeah, that you don't eat into your profits by going crazy with buying lots and lots of things. So sometimes just simplicity is best. What can you do that has the impact but doesn't mean that you're spending out lots, like buying bath salts for everybody and goodie bags. Now, the one other thing to say though, you can do that, but you have to factor it into the cost. So if you have an event and it's £10 per person, you ain't going to get really anything extra with that, because that's really what you should be charging for your class per person. Now, £15 per person, okay, maybe you're going to bring some herbal teas and you've got some cups and you can bring a kettle, you know what I mean, like pretty much anywhere. So that's quite simple to do, but it means there's a bit of a social, which is lovely. So maybe a herbal tea is enough. Now, if you're looking at adding in cake, if you're wanting to decorate the space, if you haven't already got the decorations and you want to have a theme, you're going to need to start thinking about adding that in. If you want to do a Christmas present for everybody, a little bag with some salts or an eye pillow, you got to factor it in. And now this is more like a £25 per person event, maybe 30, maybe 35. I mean, it's an event. If you can show the value that you've created and the value that they get, people will want to join in. I've done events where I did crystal gifts and they took home crystals and things. And I think I charged like £40 per person for a workshop and session. So you can add that in, but you just got to say, and I had like cacao and things like that. So once you're adding, like, that's expensive. You're doing like either cacao or hot drinks. There is a cost. So do get your costings really clear. And if anyone's not sure about costings, message me, get in contact. Anybody who's watching this on the recording, let me know, because yeah, I'm kind of, my brain's in those costings. It's really important to get that down. I think that's a big mistake that we often make. Yeah, so pricing is super key, but I've given you some price points there to have a little play with. I think it's quite a good idea to have a few different price points as well. So having a 60-minute class, like I was doing a Christmas class, which was 60 minutes, and I was charging, I think it was £15. And then I had a longer offering, and that was more expensive. That was like £25. And then I had like a mini retreat day. So having a few different things might serve you well. So you could have a Christmas class at one price point, something slightly longer, so that your community can tap into those different price points that you have. So you looked at your themes, your intention, what it is you're creating, a workshop or event, what you need for your event, the sorts of things to decorate the space. And you can use, I remember doing my Christmas classes, and I literally went to my parents and I raided their Christmas decorations. They had loads in the attic. So I just got them all out, much to their horror. They were not impressed. And I just took them all with me. And I found like bits of wood, and then I chopped some stuff down in their garden. Equally, they weren't happy, but I found they had some like holly. So I like chopped that down and took their decorations, and I found some wood bits and twigs and some sparkly twigs. And I just got what I could and decorated the room and put fairy lights around. And that created this really nice sort of space. Didn't cost me anything, the fairy lights and the old Christmas decorations and some bringing in some nature, that it's really nice to add that in, bringing in like holly or, things from the garden is a really nice thing to add. So being resourceful about what you can use to create your event, which doesn't cost. So that's from leading on from what your event is and all the things you're going to add in, the goodies, the drinks, the food, how you can collaborate or save some money on those, or if you're going to include that into the price, into the costings. Remember to cost your event. If you're going to give treats, don't do the treats as a last minute afterthought, because it's too late to add them into the cost then, and that's going to eat into your profit. So think ahead, what do I want to add in? All right, so the next thing you're going to do is to share your event. You're going to share it and get it out there. So newsletters, get your venue to help share it, put up a post or a flyer in the venue if you're doing your event in a community centre or a church hall or something where you can put the poster up. Newsletters is really key, social media, and don't forget the power of inviting people personally. Invite people personally to your event, like message them, hey, I've got this event like coming up, it's a Christmas one, I really want to see you, I haven't seen you, it's been a tough year, or whatever it might be, and you want to connect with them. So don't be afraid of messaging people and saying, I'm doing this, I think it'd be really nice if you came. So get into people's DMs or send them WhatsApps, because it's an event, it's a nice thing to invite people to. And whether that's online or in person, you can still say, I'm going to do a bit of a gathering online, or say if you were like, I'm going to do a bit of a gathering online for winter solstice, I'd really like you to be there and join, I'm really excited about it. Message people, tell them. quite often people aren't coming to your events or your class or your workshops because they haven't seen it. It's not because they've seen it and they've decided that they don't want to go. It's because they've seen it and they've forgotten about it, or they haven't seen it at all, and they're like, oh yeah, was that last week? And you're like, yeah, my workshop you didn't come to. They're like, oh, I thought that was nice. So I get this all the time in all my classes. I mean, even the other day, everyone was like, what, you did a workshop on Saturday? I'm like, yeah, like so many newsletters went out. I was talking about, and they're like, oh, I would have come to that. I didn't realize. So it's not you. Don't take it personally. Get out there and shout it loud from the rooftops about your events. Talk about it. People need to see things 7 times before they book. 7 times. So have you shared your events coming up 7 times? Maybe not. You know, you might feel like a broken record, but no one else thinks you are. They just haven't seen it. So message people. Say, hey, I haven't seen you for ages. I've got an event coming up. Thought you might like it. The worst thing they're going to say is, I'm busy or I'm not around. So this is your building community. Remember, what you're doing and sharing comes from a place of love. It's going to help people. It's what everybody needs. We all need connection. We need these sorts of things in our life. It's restorative. It's healing. It's bringing us together. So don't ever feel bad about when you're sharing your events that you shouldn't, because you are doing something which is really powerful for people. And your events could be transformative, could be even life-changing for some people. So really tap into that. You know, these are powerful. The yogic teachings, you know, the yogic practices are powerful. And that's what you're sharing. You know, you're taking someone perhaps to experience yoga nidra and they've never done that before, for example, or restorative. It's so healing for their body. So yeah, step into your power of being like, what I'm doing is a good thing, and feel confident about sharing it. So I'm going to open it up for some questions. I'll let you know if anyone's got any questions following up from that. Well, Q&A. I think pretty much covered everything that I wanted to cover. I always go over like an hour. I was going to try and do it a bit shorter today. Yeah, Lisa's saying you bought some cacao for your retreat and you bought some extra to gift. Yeah, nicer. Yeah, it is large. It's cheaper to buy a large volume. Yeah, great idea. Anyone got any questions? Jump on in if you do.
I was just going to ask, because I announced I'm doing sort of like a mini retreat wellness morning with one of my yoga teacher friends. And last time we've done things together, like things have sold out instantly. We've had to put like another one on. Last time we did 2 hours and it was £20. This time we've done 3 hours and I've organised like Kind Kitchen to do like vegan cheesecakes for afterwards and things like that. So we priced it at 35. And I thought that sounded right, but we've not had the take up that I was maybe expecting. And I don't know, maybe if it's just like, it'll come with time and promotion, or like, have I priced it too much for my community? And is it a little bit beyond what people can afford? I don't really know, but we were just a bit like, oh, we've only had like one person book on so far. And last time we were like putting on another session. So I don't really know if we've,
Really important reflections there. Is the price point too high for your community? And what the other point was that you've changed it because you made it longer. I don't think that. I think if you're doing a 3-hour event, £35 is the right price for it, at least.
Yeah,
you know,
it felt right, but I was just a bit like, oh, I don't know if we've suddenly gone too far.
No, you haven't. Like that is definitely, you know, that's still a great price point. It's, you know, it's really good value. £35 for 3 hours for sure. But it's a really interesting to reflect on that, to think, wow, okay, so we've changed it. Now it could be that people were happy to spend 2 hours with doing something, your community, but 3 hours is a bit of a push. Can they get someone to look after the kids for 3 hours? Or, you know, have they got something in? Is it just that little bit longer that they're like, oh, I'm going to struggle with that because I can, you know, get someone to do that, or they've got to juggle lives. Don't take it personally. It's not you. It's about people juggling their, you know, their day. So it could be that. And it could be that people haven't really recognized yet that they're getting so much more, you know, more value. They're getting a whole extra hour. So it's like, they just, you know, could be like, oh, it's £35. I'm sure I only paid 20 last time. They've not made that connection that it's longer. So I think it's really important to do these things, to experiment, to test the water, to see, because if you don't try it, you never know. The other side of it is, with everyone, don't be afraid to repeat the things that you do.
Okay.
I have repeated workshops and events over the last 10 years. I'm like, surely everybody would be quite bored of me doing this by now. And no, it's fine. You know, you just repeat it. So I did the Christian, like I was saying, the winter classes that I was doing, I just repeated the same. I didn't change it. I just did it again. Even used the same picture on social media when I was sharing it. I didn't change it. Just change the date. Oh, this is the next one. Don't be afraid. Don't feel like you're constantly having to reinvent what you're doing. Okay. It's fine. You can repeat things all the time. And actually people like it because they might not have been able to come to the one before and they want to come on the next one. So it's really important to feel that you can, especially if you've got an event that works, that you can repeat it. But I also think you've done that event a few times. So now you're like, well, we want to try something a bit different and see how that goes.
Yeah, I think we're doing this as more of a mini retreat rather than the kind of workshop style thing. So we were just like, right, we're kind of, you know, we'll price it up a bit and we'll bring in the food and, you know, kind of.
Okay, if you're
like
doing food,
and
yeah, if you're doing food and you're doing 3 hours, that's not a mini retreat, that's a half-day retreat.
Yeah.
So make sure you're wording it that they're getting a half-day retreat. It's not mini, like they're getting a half-day retreat. So step into your power of what you're sharing, that it's a half day. So that adds more context to value of what they're getting. And the other thing is to share the value of what is in this retreat. And maybe like you don't always have to share the list of what you get, like you get this and you get this and like a list, but more like the feeling of what they're getting. They're getting a half-day retreat experience. So and I think it's really important. Is the food included in that?
Well, we're just doing vegan cheesecakes and chai and things, but
okay. Yeah, I would include like definitely some imagery of that. And also so all the people that came before, have you had any response from them or connection to them?
We've sent out like a MailChimp to the people who came to all the winter ones, because we only had a capacity of 6 back then. And the venue we've got, we can't fit much more in there anyway, but we've upped it to 8. But we've got we've sent it out to the people who came before, and I mean 2 people have said, oh, we can't make that date. But I was just like, oh, we had like 12 people before, and it was just like it sold quite easily.
What's the date of your event?
It's the 10th of October.
10th of October. Okay, I would get into people's DMs. So I would start messaging them if you can. If you've got their WhatsApp or their Facebook Messenger, and just say, you know, it was really nice to see you on our last event. We've got another one coming up, and I'd really like to see you here. I've got a space for you if you would like to come. Let me know. I think you need to be more direct, because it's the 10th of October. So you really want to get clear, because you've had people that come before. So yeah.
Thank you.
Let me know how you get on with that. Yeah, get into DM. Yeah, super proactive and just say, hey, how have you been? You know, and start a conversation. Because MailChimp, you could send out lots of MailChimps, and with anything with MailChimp, people are like, it's great, you have to send out your newsletters. Email is powerful, but it also could be like people are looking at it and like, oh yeah, like just not connecting yet. There's something. So yeah. And don't be afraid to send more, you know, emails.
Yeah.
different headings and things. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else got any other questions? You're all good. All right, my lovelies. Okay, well, I'm going to start the recording. If anyone who's been watching this on the replay, do let me know if you've got any questions. You can contact me directly. You can send me a DM or just pop it in the comments when I put it in the Facebook group. And let me know if you've got any questions at all following on from this. And I look forward to seeing you on the next workshop I've got coming up. I've got another one coming up. Is it next week or the week after? Anyway, it's in the Facebook group. I think it's the real after. Yes, I'll be sharing that one. So I've got another 2 workshops all about sort of, you building in your Facebook community and just to support you. So let me know if there's anything else you want help with. And yeah, I'd love to, hear more from you. So let me know if there's anything else that comes up that you think, yeah, that you are stuck on, and I can run a workshop. So it's great to hear from you. All right, lovely.
Thank you,
Okay,
Pip.
really
Thank you,
nice to chat
Pip.
with you. All right.